Hello, Algebra 3. This is our video key for lesson 6.8, and that was on expanding logarithms. Here's number 1, and our challenge here is to take this single logarithm and expand it into multiple logarithms. So a couple things that jump right off the page to me here is I have a division problem here, which means that quotient property is going to come into play. And I also have one of my terms here where I have an exponent, which means that power property is going to come into play. So it's sort of 6.7, it's sort of that lesson in reverse. So first, let's take the division problem here and split that up into a subtraction problem using our quotient property. So I'll end up with log base 4 of a to the 9th minus log base 4 of b. Okay, so that's using our quotient property to get to this step. Next thing I want to do is I'm going to move this 9 from the exponent spot out to the coefficient spot using the power property. So I'm going to end up with 9 log base 4 of a minus log base 4 of b. And there's nothing we can do with this second term here, so that is our answer for number 1. 9 log 4 of a minus log base 4 of b. Okay, here's number 2, log base 7 of that expression q to the 4th times r squared, that term right there squared as well. So I got a few things going on. First, I need to simplify what's going on in here, so I'm probably going to distribute that power through the set of parentheses. So I'm just going to take that exponent. Remember, when you're raising a power to a power, you multiply those exponents. So I'm going to get log 7 of q to the 8th, that's 4 times 2, and then r to the 4th, which is 2 times 2. I think this will make it a lot easier to deal with. Now that we have this here, I can just use the product property to split apart this multiplication problem, and then once I do that, I can use the power property to move those exponents out to the coefficient spot. So let's employ the product property first. I will get log base 7 of q to the 8th plus log base 7 of r to the 4th. Remember, using the product property, we can take this multiplication problem and split it apart with an addition sign. Now I can use the power property. I'm going to take these exponents and move them out front of their logarithm. So I will end up with 8 times log base 7 of q plus 4 times the log base 7 of r. And that becomes my answer to number 2. 8 log 7 of q plus 4 log 7 of r. Here's number 3, log base 8 of mn squared. And let's be careful. Notice that this exponent only applies to the n. If it applied to the m as well, it would be outside the parentheses, but it only applies to the n since it's inside the parentheses. So we got a couple things going on. We're going to be using the product property because we have a multiplication problem here. And it looks like we'll be using that power property eventually because of that exponent right there. So let's use the product property and split this thing apart. We'll get log base 8 of m and plus log base 8 of n squared. So our first log here, that's just as simplified as it can get. However, the second one, with the power property, we're going to move that exponent out front into the coefficient position. So we'll end up with log base 8 of m plus 2 times the log base 8 of n. And there is our answer for number 3, expanding this original logarithm here into 2 separate ones. We get log base 8 of m plus 2 log base 8 of n. Number 4, we have the log of that expression of x to the 9th over y to the 4th. So a couple things are jumping out at me. I'm going to be using that quotient property since I have a division problem here. And I'm also going to be using the power property because of these 2 exponents. So let's split this apart first using our quotient property. I end up with the log of x to the 9th minus the log of y to the 4th. That's after using the quotient property. Next, I'm going to employ the power property. I'm going to move those exponents out front into the coefficient position. So I'll end up with 9 log of x minus 4 log of y. And there's our answer to number 4, 9 log of x minus 4 log of y. Okay, so here's number 5. I got the log base 2 of a to the 5th, b to the squared, all of that cubed. So I probably want to simplify this a little bit first by distributing that exponent of 3 through my parentheses. So I'll end up with the log base 2 of a to the 15th. Remember, we're raising a power to a power. We multiply those exponents. So 5 times 3, that's 15. And then we end up with b to the 6th, which is 2 times 3. Now looking at it, we can see, well, I'm going to be using the product property because I have a multiplication problem here. And probably last, I will be employing that power property because I have exponents. So let's split this apart first. So I'll have the log base 2 of a to the 15th plus the log base 2 of b to the 6th. I get that after using my my product property. Now I'm going to use the power property and move those exponents out to the coefficient position. So I will get 15 times log base 2 of a plus 6 times log base 2 of b. There's my answer for number 4. I'm sorry, this is number 5, isn't it? Yeah, got to change my number up here. So my answer for number 5 is 15 log base 2 of a plus 6 log base 2 of b. Okay, for number 6 here, I'm given the log of p to the 4th divided by q to the 7th, all of that squared. So I probably want to simplify this up first. I'm going to distribute that exponent of 2 through my parentheses, and then I'll be able to use the quotient property and wrap it up by using the power property. So let's distribute that 2 through first. So I'll get the log of p to the 8th. Remember, when you're raising a power to a power, you multiply them. So 4 times 2 is 8. That's going to be over q to the 14th, which is just 7 times 2. Now I can use my quotient property to split these apart. So I will get the log of p to the 8th minus the log of q to the 14th. All right, now I'm going to use my power property, and I'm going to move these exponents out front. So I'll end up with 8 times the log of p minus 14 times the log of q. So there's my answer for number 6, 8 times the log of p minus 14 times the log of q. Okay, so here is problem number 7. We're dealing with log base 5 of the square root of a to the 7th times b. So we have to go back to earlier algebra days and remember that when we're taking the square root of an expression, we're really going to be raising that expression to the fractional exponent of 1/2. So taking the square root is the equivalent of raising that expression to the exponent of 1/2. So hopefully remember that from our early algebra days. So now I'm going to distribute that exponent through the parentheses. We'll simplify it a little bit. And I'll get a to the 7/2 times b to the 1/2. Now I have a multiplication problem here that I can employ my product property on. And then after that, I'll be able to get these fractions out in front using the power property. So let's split this apart first. I'm going to end up with the log base 5 of a to the 7/2 plus the log base b of b to the 1/2. That's splitting that expression apart using the product property. Now I'm going to take these exponents and just move them out front using our power property. I'll end up with 7/2 times the log of 5 base a plus 1/2 times the log base 5 of b. This should be base 5 right here. Okay, so there is my answer for number 7. I have 7/2 times the log base 5 of a plus 1/2 times the log base 5 of b. here is our final question for this exercise, number 8. And we are given the log base 4 of the cube root of c squared times d to the 15th. And we need to expand that out. So we need to first reflect back on early algebra days and remember that taking the cube root of something is the same as raising it to the power of 1/3. So just like the square root was raising it to the 1/2, taking the cube root is raising it to the 1/3. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute that exponent through and simplify it a little bit. And after I've taken these couple of algebra steps, then I can use the properties of logarithms. So first, let's distribute that 1/3 through. I'll get c to the 2/3. Remember, when you're raising a power to a power, you multiply them. So 2 times 1/3 is 2/3. And I'm going to end up with d to the 5th. Again, multiplying 15 times 1/3 is 5. So now I can start using those properties of logarithms. The first one I'm going to use is the product property because I'm multiplying these two together right here. And then I'll use the power property because I got exponents I need to move out front. So first, we'll split those apart. I'm going to have log base 4 of c to the 2/3 plus the log base 4 of d to the 5th. That's after using the product property. Now I'm just going to move these exponents out front using the power property, and I'll end up with 2/3 times the log base 4 of c plus 5 times the log base 4 of d. So there's my answer for number 8, 2/3 times the log base 4 of c plus 5 times the log base 4 of d. So hopefully working through all 8 of these problems helped. If you're stuck, please email me and we'll work through that.